Hey guys, how's it going? My name's Pat. Welcome back to Just Film channel where we talk about only film. But now we finally get to talk about all the film cameras I own. And we just got number 18. But before we start with number 18, we have to start with number 1. This is it, the Kodak 35. Comes in this really cool case. Just pop open the back, it opens up, and there it is, the Kodak 35. With a cool, like, inner purple. I don't know if that just is how it aged over time or if it was actually just purple to begin with. I don't know. So in December of 2017, I was home for the holidays for holiday break. This is when I started getting into like photography, mostly digital at the time. And my dad came up to me and he was like, hey, this is your uncle's film camera. If you want it, you can have it. Otherwise, don't worry about it. And I was like, okay, cool, thanks. I didn't know anything about film back then. I did try to put a roll through it. None of those photos came out. Recently, I pulled this back out and I wanted to try it again. And these are some of the images I got. So to talk about this camera, first I want to say that it was first developed in 1938. There are 4 different versions of it. As you can see, what's different about like some of these older cameras is that the lens, I say it's bolted down. It's just screwed down. You can't interchange these lenses, I don't think. But this model has a Kodak 55 millimeter lens. The highest aperture is a 4.5. So this is what this model is. I think they made a few different ones with different lenses and different apertures, but this is the one I have and I really like it. So to take it out of the case, there's this thread down here. You just unscrew it. My buddy Chris cleaned this camera for me recently. He loves cleaning cameras for me because I don't clean them. And it looks pretty beautiful. Well, I guess we'll start with the front. So the front, you have your focusing ring, you have your shutter, and you have your aperture. The silver part, there's little grooves on it, and you either push it, slide it towards you, or you slide it away from you. And there's a few different options. There's T, which I believe is timer, B, which is bulb, 25, 50, 100, and 150. So those are your shutter speeds. That's all you get. For your aperture, there's a little arrow showing where your aperture is. So basically, you slide it on the bottom, either away from you or towards you, and you pick which aperture you want. So there's 4.5, 5.6, 8, 11, and obviously Sunny 16. For your focus, it's just like the front element. It's the copper one. You have this little stick that kind of goes up, this little pole, I don't know, but it stops you from going the other way. So you have to either go clockwise or counterclockwise. You either start with 4 feet, which is pretty close, but I've messed this up a dozen times. And I think my focus ring is a little loose because it's really, it slides pretty fast. And then you'll have all the way up to infinity. For this photo, for example, I was standing pretty far back and there were mountains in the distance, or technically hills, but there are mountains in the distance, and I just set it to infinity and I didn't worry about it, and this photo came out and it was okay. I believe this knob right here, not knob, but like almost like a prong, is the timer. You will push that until you hear a click. Oh, I never tried it before. So you push it down, you hear almost like this winding of like da 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 da, and then it'll snap. That's cool. I didn't know that. Okay, and the last thing on this camera is this little lever. A little lever, I don't know. You pull this down, that's how you take a photo. Next is this big old section right here. Probably shouldn't have slapped it, but we did it anyway. You'll notice that you have your Kodak 35 viewfinder, and this is it. That's your viewfinder. You can look through it, and this is like your projected viewfinder. And then to put it down, you would just lower the black part, and then part that says Kodak 35, you would lower it back down. You have your rewind knob, and then your wind knob, and your counter, mechanical counter. And then you have a button. And this is not your button to take photos. Like I said, the lever is to take a photo. What this does is unlocks a contraption in the camera to allow you to wind to the next photo. So on the very bottom of the camera, it's how you open the camera. It'll say open, so it'll be a clockwise, and it'll stop there. And with two hands, what I like to do is I just like to either push it away from me or just slide it off, and the backing will come out. So you'll have your back. It's pretty basic, that's your back. And then inside the camera, you'll have everything else. You'll have where you put your film in. The reason I don't like this camera, probably the biggest reason, is that the sprockets are metal and they're sharp. So like with film, you'll have your sprocket holes where when you wind film, these little square open pieces of film, it'll wind to the next frame. The reason I don't like this camera is that it can shred the film, whether it's winding it or rewinding it. There's a little slot here. You're probably wondering what that little slot's for. Is that like damaged part of the lens? No. So when you're winding your film, there'll be a little red indication color that comes in. You'll take your photo. That red indication will go away. You'll click your button, and then you'll wind. And then you'll hear you'll hear a noise like almost like a reload, almost. I don't know. It's a pretty loud click. And you'll see your red indication come on, and you're ready for your next photo. If you find it and it's like 20 bucks or 10 bucks, go for it. I see people try to sell these for like $100, and I don't understand why people try to buy them for $100. They're not worth that much. For today, we're going to use Kodak Gold, a pretty inexpensive film stock. What you want to do is, it says on the bottom here, I don't know if you can tell, it says something about like threading under both of the rollers. What that means is it's not talking about these rollers, it's talking about, so that's a roller and that's a roller. Basically what you want to do is, your first thought is like, oh, I'm going to put the film in the slot. But no, you're actually going under both of these rollers down here. So that's your little slot for your film. The next part is a little annoying. It's your counter. Right there. So you want to start around maybe 5 or 6. Because when you're winding your film in, this little lever, the sprockets are going to move. And once they move, your counter is going to move with it. So let's try to put your film in. There it is. Perfect. And then you grab your film, pull it out, thread it under both of those rollers. Don't like jam it in there, but you gotta make sure it's nice and tight. Making sure that the sprocket holds. Those little square like pieces right here, open pieces, are going into those metal sprockets. Just enough of the film where you're good. Okay, so we're gonna stop there, because that's probably more than we need. And we did lose a few frames. What you want to do is put your film back on, making sure it's nice and closed. Sometimes I like force it down just to make sure. And then you turn your lever with the way it says to lock it. You lock it. Now our counter is a little off. It says 30, 32-ish. We have to make a mental note that that's not where it's at. Click our release button, and we should be able to wind. Hear that slap? Ah, and we got a red indication. That means that we're good to fire, and we can pull this lever down. So that's how you basically put in a roll of film into the Kodak 35. Hope you enjoyed. I'm excited to shoot this roll, and when we're done with it, I'll show you how to get the film out. So to put this back, if you have one of these, I don't know if everybody does. I've never seen one actually. So you take your phone, your case, you find that little thread to the back of the other thread, put it down like so, and you twist. Make sure that's locked, and then you're good to go. The reason I like the case too is not only because it's fashionable, but it also makes sure that there's no like light leaks, any potential light leaks that could enter the back in case your back isn't like fully secure. But yeah, let's go in the field.